Before departing on this spiritual adventure to Myanmar, it was said that we were beginning a new link in the endless chain that began so many years ago. But just to do a little recap and complete, on Sunday it was said, and we all understand and know intimately those three levels of life or mind. That ordinary level of existence, where cause and effect, and action and reaction. That place where we lose our job, are evicted from our house, and so forth. This is the nitty-gritty level of existence that most people abide in. But we here also intimately know that infinite level of called the arcane, that level where spirit, intuition, angels and demons, and so forth abide. Our creativity, that drive to paint, to create, to write, to give in one way or another. All of these dwell in that arcane world of spirit. And then some of us know sporadically, and perhaps also intimately, that transcendent level where compassion, empathy causes us constant pain, never leaving us. An ant carrying a piece of sugar across the floor, the look in the horse's eyes that's been starved or eaten, a bat, baby, falling from a tree its mother no longer there. The pain of compassion in us can be so great that we live constantly in that state of tension. When we have at all three levels this extreme squeezing, and this is what it feels like, something amazing happens. A coalescing, perhaps. So instead of being three dimensions that are called existence, knowledge, and bliss, or Satchitananda, it becomes one, seamless. But I'm sure you, like it has been for me, the coalescing of those three dimensions of life have caused a state which one can call being awake, having nowhere to escape to, a mind that can no longer, when things get hard on the nitty-gritty level, go off into a daydream, or find some excuse, oh, I'll never be any good, I'm a loser. Or even to move into that transcendent world of Satori, where in meditation we can take ourselves above it all, and it all disappears for a while. What is it that happens when we are forever awake, no longer having a place where our mind can escape to. Not a nowness, not a presence, not a state of attention, because all of these are relative to mind. Now the other day when we were together, there was a little riddle given, and it sums it up for us. Before, there's a little story told that leads us into our new phase. And it's the story of a seeker after truth. He'd travelled the world, been to many teachers. He'd traversed those 3 levels of life in full measure himself. But he found himself going to the tekiya, the house of learning of a great Sufi sheikh. And when he arrived there, he sought admission to the circle of this great Sufi. But he was greeted by the head disciple of the sheikh, who said to him, yes, you can enter the circle of the sheikh in 3 years' time if you can answer a question. So the question was posed to the seeker. And he went and he labored over this question. He labored, thought about it, and finally he came up with an answer. So when he gave the answer to the disciple of the sheikh, the disciple confirmed that yes, this was the answer, and that in 1,001 days he would be admitted to the circle of the great sheikh. The seeker was overjoyed, elated. But just as he was departing, he had a thought, and he turned to the disciple of the sheikh and he said, well, please, can you tell me what would have happened if I had not been able to answer the question? And the disciple of the sheikh replied, oh, in that case you would have been admitted to the circle immediately. Our mind, when intention has been created on those 3 levels, those 3 dimensions, when they're replete, when the mind has nowhere to escape to in any of those dimensions, this is what happens. And it's called a state of awakeness. Awakeness. What does that mean? Being awake. Forever awake. Vigilance, alertness, attention. They're no longer needed. Because all of these are relative to a mind. There's a great Sultan. He was called Sultan Mahmud, and he was a great Padishah, uniting much of the Middle East at a time long ago. But King Mahmud started out as a bandit, riding his wild horse, stealing from people, and gathering about him a band of brigands. But it grew, and he conquered. But he was smart. He learned what we would call street smarts along the way. He learned the ways of men and the world until he'd conquered what was known of the world at that time. he became the great Padishah, and he was a great king, a really great king. But because of this smarts, he was aware of all that was going on around him all the time. And to make sure that everything was kept in line, he didn't just keep a band of yes men and viziers and pundits around him, although he gathered poets, scholars and the like in his court. But at night, King Mahmud would put on a disguise and go out into the town and go into the taverns and talk to the people. He'd knock on their doors as a traveller and seek their hospitality to see how they were living and how they reacted. One night, King Mahmud was out in his usual disguise in the dark of night when he bumped into a band of robbers. But they were not out to rob him at all, and they got chatting with him and asked him what he did. And he said, "Oh, I'm like you. I'm a robber, a bandit. Can I join you?" And I said, "We're no ordinary band of robbers. We're the elite of robbers. We have special talents, and to join us, you would have to have a special talent also. What's your special talent?" Mahmud, astute as he was, said, "Well, you tell me what your special talents are, and then I'll tell you what my special talent is." So the first bandit said, "Well, my talent is my ears. I can hear animals speak in the far distance. I know what they're saying. I can understand the language of life. And if a dog barks in the distance and says that things are not safe, I can understand what is saying." Oh, King Mahmud was impressed that he didn't have this talent. Well, the second bandit said, "It's my eyes. My eyes, I can be out in the middle of the night and someone can pick my pocket, and the next day I can meet him in the street and I know exactly who he was. I have this sight." And the third bandit said, "This is my muscles. I can dig with these hands. I can break into any kind of edifice. I have that ability." And another one said, "You see this rope? See that I can make a lasso out of this rope, and I can go to any heights." Well, the Padishah was very impressed with all of this, and they said, "Well, what is your talent?" King Mahmud said, "Well, I can wiggle my beard and save a life. If anyone is condemned to death, I can just shake my head and they can be saved." "Ah," said the robbers. But they were impressed. They said, "Well, they all had thought. Each of them had the thought, well, one day we're going to be caught, We're robbers, we're bandits. Surely we're going to get caught. And when we do, we need a talent like this to set us free. This is such a talent, you better become our commander." So it happened, King Mahmud was made a commander of this bandit group. So, of course, when the daylight came, it was decided that, they would have to make some kind of heist. So, it so happened that the man with the great hearing heard in the distance some animal. Maybe it was a donkey braying, and the donkey said, "The Sultan is among you." Well, the bandits laughed, your intuition, your ears are giving you wrong information this time. How could the Sultan be amongst us? So they just laughed it off. But then, the second fellow had eyes that led them along a pathway, and they came to a house where one of the others was able to glean that there was an old widow there with a great fortune that she'd saved. But of course, this was a very special group of bandits. They had integrity. They didn't steal from old widows. So they moved on from there, and of course with the other talents, they were led to a secret doorway which led to coffers where King Mahmud's gold was kept. Well, to cut a long story short, with each of their abilities, they were able to make their way in that secret door. The man with his fist was able to break the locks, and they were able with their sight to find their way down the labyrinthine passageways that led to the place where all the gold was kept. Well, when they got inside, they filled their bags with gold and jewels, and they made their escape. But of course, they were all so tired and very excited after this wonderful heist that they lay down in their straw mats in their den, their lair, which was an abandoned caravanserai out somewhere on the fringes of the desert. And they all went to sleep, except, of course, King Mahmud, who made his way back to his palace and back to his bedchamber, where he could sleep a moment or two and ponder on what he was going to do about these bandits. So when King Mahmud woke up the next morning, he called his advisors and his soldiers to him and directed them where to go to find the robbers and take back his gold. So when all the robbers were brought into his presence, of course, the one with great insight immediately recognized King Mahmud as the one who had been with them that very night. Well, of course, their fate was sealed, wasn't it? And King Mahmud said, well, what do you think I should do with you? Because there was his executioner standing there with his axe ready to lock their heads. And of course the bandits said, well, after all, you did tell us that your talent was that you could wave your beard and set man free. And you are our commander. Well, then, King Mahmud had to laugh, of course. And what could he do? He could do nothing else but take his rightful place as the commander. This motley group waved his beard and set them free. And of course, in the way of these stories, but maybe you go along with it, maybe you won't. They all changed their ways, became honest men, giving up their thieving ways. How does this story lead us into the next link in our chain? Perhaps we've already got it gleaming, because it's our experience. It's our experience when the tensions of life on all of those 3 levels of mind have been taken to their full measure, where we no longer have any veils, conditioning, barriers, shields, no ability to move between these levels of mind, and are forced to live in a state of perpetual awakeness. What does it mean? Where do we go from here? Is there an effort in remaining awake? Is there a need for prayers, meditations, mantras, affirmations, gurus, teachers, guides, gods, angels, demons? No. But then, there is a way to go. It seems like all of us in one way or another are stepping out into the unknown. Literally and figuratively. I think it's damned exciting, don't you?
The excitement comes from the tension.
The excitement comes from the tension. Exactly. Alive, alive, alive. No falling asleep.
Except in the dentist chair.
In the dentist chair. When they give you a shot in the nose. But even that does it? Isn't it amazing? Amazing.